listen to this. Bad boy. Funky time.
It is the penultimate week of ESL Pro League here in North America, and we are getting down to the nitty-gritty. I'm your host, Stunna, and I'm going to walk you guys through our pre-show that we normally do here on Tuesdays to kind of catch everyone back up to speed over the course of the weekend. But before we even get that far, let me introduce my my co-host here, Vendetta. How's it going, big guy?
It's going pretty well. Had a lovely weekend. Was able to sit, back in my place, just relax, watch some CS. So overall, pretty successful week in my book.
Nice, yeah. I also,
I mean, you did a lot of stuff. You broke your toe.
Okay, look, now that's for me to know, not anyone else. We're not putting that on the stream. But Coachella, definitely an interesting thing. A lot of interesting things going on out there in the desert.
A lot of good music.
A lot of good music. A lot of good water, a lot of good stuff going on out there in the desert. But that's not what we're here to talk about. It's the pre-show. Let's take a look at the schedule going into today. And right now, SK NRG asterisk for the time being.
Yeah.
But definitely this Immortals Renegades matchup could be an interesting one.
Could be very interesting. Renegades, one of the hottest teams in terms of form in Pro League. Just overall, same thing goes for Immortals, really. We saw Immortals have that, 9-1 streak as well going in for them. So that's two hot teams that are looking to do well for themselves for a bit of different reasons. Obviously, we know that Renegades are not going to be a part of the playoffs in Dallas because they have to be at the Asian Minor. But obviously, they want to be in tip-top form going into that. And for Immortals, if they can get potentially #1 seed because SK maybe stumbles along the way or something, that's massive for them.
Definitely massive for them. And it's interesting to see a team like Renegades kind of go into any games going forward, right? We know they're not attending those finals, so it's interesting to see what their mentality is going to be, how they're going to approach the game. Is it going to be any differently? Nothing to lose. We can't get relegated at this point. We've already dug ourselves out of that hole.
I think it's they go in with a lot of freedom, but it's also with a sense of or the mentality that they want to crush everyone, because obviously they got a new lineup going for them, new players that obviously want to showcase themselves from their best side possible. And in addition to that, they've gotten off to such a good start, right? So why ruin it? Why stop now? I just see this being like a positive thing for Renegades. Obviously, they've known for a while that they're not going to be like that the dates clash, and that's just kind of how life is. But that obviously is not going to put a damper on how well they want to play going into their next tournament.
Well, let's talk about the tournament from this past weekend. Let's talk about CS Summit. A lot of cool things coming out over there, a lot of good content, a lot of just good Counter-Strike overall as well.
Yeah, just a super fun tournament. Obviously, very different approach to how you host a tournament from what we see in, I guess, our normal days in that sense, with a bit more laid-back approach to it. Couches galore, players and talent kind of wandering about with each other. We see full NIP desks, casting games. Same thing with SK. See combinations of Optic and CLG. Cloud9 actually joining forces. To bring some insight and entertainment for the viewers. And I think obviously everyone who's watching this is and who are part of the community loves seeing players from a bit of a different aspect than what they normally do when they're just on a server.
Well, it's interesting too, right? Because we look at this, there's 4 teams from the NA Pro League competing over there.
Yeah.
Cloud9, Liquid, Optic, SK. And then, some of these teams even did better than some of the European teams. I mean, we saw them perform better than Envious, NIP. I mean,
Godsend as well. Yeah.
But
yeah, okay, I got a bit of an asterisk around them in that sense, I guess, because they haven't done too hot for themselves as of late. But in any case, yeah, definitely impressive showings from the North American side. We saw some very good, actually, like domestic matchups or battles as well. Optic versus Cloud9, for instance. Very cool game to watch. So, definitely worth a rewatch in any case.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Optic, because we kind of looked at this tournament as somewhere where Jason R can kind of prove himself and really show what that lineup has to offer on LAN.
Yeah.
And what did we see?
Obviously, a bit of a mixed bag in terms of how Jason performed as an individual, but I think what you have to look at overall is how Optic performed as a team. And if you compare that to what we've seen, in their bit of a stumbly approach the last couple of weeks in Pro League, I think this was a definite step up in many ways. And I think it's a good experience for the team as well. With them going to LAN with Jason R, that kind of tells you that they're committed to playing with him for the foreseeable future. And I think it's only positive things really to take out of how Optic played for the better part of it from Summit.
Well, staying on that Optic note, let's take a look at this $1 million play here from NAF. I mean, he doesn't win the round, but it's still pretty cool to watch. Kind of walk us through the viewer at home that doesn't necessarily know what's going on.
Yeah, so obviously, depending on, walls aren't necessarily soundproof. So what NAF does here is actually something that's obviously been available for a long time, but we haven't really seen a lot of people do, if anyone. And that's basically making noise, faking out the jump sound that you normally hear when people go down from drop room. So to kind of fake the rest of the Gambit members out to think that he's committed to drop room, he's going to be locked in that area, and you can tell Suze is completely expecting that, holding on E-Box side of drop room while Mold is holding windows. So just very heads up, something you rarely see, but it kind of goes to show that you don't necessarily have to be the guy who drops 30 bombs every game to be, you know, a smart or solid player. You know, small things like that are not necessarily always caught on camera definitely play a massive part, and that's just a very, very, very cool play from Neff.
Well, even if we extend this out to sports, right? Like, we've seen a lot of Counter-Strike over the years. Sometimes, every now and then, you know, something comes out and it'll stand out to you. I mean, like, even in baseball, there's still plays that happen to this day that, you know, you might not have ever seen, but it's definitely something that makes you appreciate the level of skill that's being played at amongst these teams.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the coolest things about, you know, I think it's one of the reasons why CS has been around for such a long time as well. So even though you've played Dust 2 for about 14 years, eventually you'll have a moment where you see something you haven't seen before, like a strike of innovation and, you know, just players evolving to kind of that next level where they figure out new stuff and new things to take advantage of, which is super cool.
Well, a big part of this ticket being sold to the viewer not only was the cool experience around the stream, but we also got to see Cloud9 play with swag. An interesting thing. It had some good results. I don't know what that says more about with the team, but seeing this kid play on LAN still and still have it in him it should be a little bit of motivation.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Obviously, Swag has been, you know, by many called the best player in NA for a long, long time. Even though obviously he hasn't played in tournaments for, you know, because of you know, obvious reasons, but. It's super fun to see him play once more, and I think it kind of just goes to show more. This is more about him as a player, that he's versatile. The fact that Cloud9 were able to play as well with him in the lineup.
Well, even this Cloud9 lineup, right? Going into this, it was said and spoken and sort of pushed Shroud having that sort of come up, and like he's you know, he's doing well going into this event. And actually, we have a clip about how he feels about his own performance. We're gonna load it for you guys right now.
Dude, the shittiest part about CS Summit was before CS Summit, my whole team was like the most. This is the most depressing part. It's not how I underperformed. I did, obviously. It's about the fact that before CS Summit, my team was hyping me up. I was the most improved. I was fucking tryharding like shit. And then we go to CS Summit, and then I fucking just bomb. That was the most depressing part. I was fucking killing it. I dedicated so much time to CS, and then I just bombed. So I don't even know.
Now, being around those guys for a long time, specifically Shroud, I think Shroud is another one of those genius level gamers. But I think very much so he's almost untouchable mechanically. But it's definitely something where I think, and I think Sam and I talked about this too, it's something where we'd like to see like maybe Shroud go into that maybe entry role or kind of spice it up for him. And I think that's really the key to unlocking him as a player. Yeah, no, it kind of seems like he obviously we know how solid he can be mechanically and how solid his aim is and everything. And we see that pretty much, you know, when he's allowed to just not necessarily have to think about too much what he's doing. So if you allow him to not get into his own head and make things harder for himself, I think you see a much better performance out of Shroud, because obviously he didn't have the best Summit event like we saw, and that's a bit of a shame when you know what kind of performances he can have. And I think what they've been experiencing with or experimenting with on Cobble, where they actually have Shroud going out on B plat, for instance, as like you said, a bit of an entry fragger. I think that's something that could actually work out nicely for the entire team. The guy's a gamer. He can click heads in game. I've seen it. I know it exists. It's no question. Now, another team has no stranger to hitting heads is SK Gaming. They walk away with a big trophy this weekend. What is there to say about this team winning this event? Kind of, you know, back where they belong in that sense, right? Finals time for SK Gaming. It was actually the first finals they've won since ESL Cologne 2016, which is pretty crazy to say when you think about how you know, accomplished that team is and how they've always, you know, made it to the top fours and so on ever since then.
But SK side, obviously, I think they came into that tournament as pretty big favorites, and they defended that with pretty good promise as well. They were playing pretty well. They still have some hiccups on various maps here and there, not necessarily completely the old SK as we would have known, that staple roster that did everything through teamwork. But it's getting there.
Well, you say it's getting there, but let's talk about a guy that's always there. It's Cold Zera,
Yeah,
because he crushes it at this event, I think.
Yeah, well, Colt, obviously, there's a reason we go, week in, week out about him being the greatest player that you pretty much have in the world. And what he did versus Gambit on this cash map in the finals is just absolutely insanity because, I mean, we've seen players dominate games and, if you get 30 bombs and you obviously list them as the MVP of the tournament. Colt ended up with 31-5 that game, which is so idiotic when you think about the kind of situations they found themselves as well. Because, you see the start of these highlight clips, the fact that in a lot of these situations, Colt is always lonesome. He's the one saving SK from the brink of destruction in that sense. Where, the big swing rounds where Gambit has an opportunity to bring things back and actually get back into the game, Colt was just always that gatekeeper who denied them. Time and time again, it just wouldn't let them have any sort of fun. And I think Gambit, in their end, when they're sitting there playing, they're like, guys, we're bringing it back to, 1v1s every single time. This is really good. It's just a matter of time. But then they fail to remember that it's Cold Zera left in every single situation, and he's just kicking your ass over and over again. It's just like, oh, okay.
Cold Zera definitely a heavy enough hitter to make those plays, to make those shots happen. And really, you're right in connecting the dots where we see Cold Zera alive last, and then next thing you know, they've won the round. It's like, okay, that was a 4v1 situation, and then he walks away with it. Okay, it's another day in the office around here, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was. I think Haste was doing commentary on that finals as well, and he was literally just going every time Cold Zera was left alone. He's like, he wins these 11 out of 10 times, and every time Cold Zera won as well. So I guess he's not wrong in that sense. But it was just a sheer sense of amazement from everyone who was watching. It was not necessarily people describing what was happening. Everybody's just like gawking at what Cold Zera was able to do.
Now, SK walks away with the W for the big tournament itself. But is this a comfortable enough time for SK fans and really the community to sort of pop champagne? Or is this an SK that still needs a lot of work?
I think it's still an SK that needs work. We have to consider the fact that, they win a tournament of a fair size, but it's not like we had the top 5 teams in the world at this tournament as well, in addition to SK. Going up against Gambit, no offense to Gambit whatsoever, but they're not at the same level as an Astralis, for instance, or VP, that kind of, or Navi, for instance. And that's just there's not anything SK can do about that fact. They just have to go up against any opponent that they're tasked to play. But there's still room to improve here, because we've seen even this tournament they didn't look indomitable on train. We've seen them being very shaky on it for the longest time actually. And Inferno also as well, definitely a map that they can be abused at, which Gambit kind of showed us.
Well, Gambit definitely showed that they've got what it takes.
Yeah.
But more so than that, hats off to Beyond the Summit. I mean, these guys definitely crushed it in terms of an event.
Knocked it out of the park.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I can only hope from the spectator side of things to see more of those events in the near future. So if you 100%. Did miss any of that, definitely head over to their YouTube channel. Check out some of that missed content. A lot of cool stuff going on around there.
PSAs.
Oh,
all the good stuff.
One was stealing a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
Teamy, man.
I mean, you're absolutely right. But we're not at Beyond the Summit. We're at ESL Pro League. Yeah. We've got an interesting sort of week aligned of matches and how important they are. But let's start with the roster changes, Vendetta.
Yeah, so let's start with the fact that none of them actually happened. For the first time since I've gotten to North America, there has not been a roster change in NA Pro League.
Well, I started thinking about it, and without Beyond the Summit and, no roster changes, what would we be up here talking about for 45 minutes? I have no idea.
I have no idea, actually. We would have been so lost. I guess, we could have talked about, no idea.
Not any idea at all. Let's take a look at the EU standings, though, as we do bring the focus back to the ESL Pro League North. Mouse Sports, G2, Navi, FaZe, and Astralis sitting there in your driver's seats on their way to the playoffs as of now, but not for sure.
Not for sure, but I think we're seeing a bit of a more divide, over the last week here in EU than what we're seeing in NA, honestly. We had our famous 11-win club in NA, and apparently 13 is the magical number in EU. But there's a significant enough gap down to Fnatic where all the top 6 teams in EU as of right now are looking to be in a pretty good spot actually to just make it to Dallas.
They're definitely in a good spot. You're seeing that gap there. Let's take a look at the NA side of things, though, as that is our forte. SK Immortals, Cloud9 sitting your top 3, Liquid Energy, and Renegades. Now, the asterisk beside Renegades would be that they will not attend the Pro League Finals should they make it, due to going to the, I think it's the Asian Minor.
Yeah, that's the one.
And so that would leave now down to the next one, which is Optic. But it's still such a close battle between Optic, Luminosity, and CLG. It's kind of like, what's going to happen here?
Even Misfits in there still have a shot at actually making it to the finals. Obviously, like a lot of things have to go right for them. Stars need to align and so on, and the right people need to lose to the right opponents and so on. But overall, then incredibly tightly contested season over here in NA, which is somewhat unexpected. Like, yeah, we had the divide towards the bottom 3 and so on, but I didn't expect like 10 teams to be in contention for playoff spot at this point.
Okay, since we have such just a gaggle of just wins and losses to teams in contention for playoffs, Vendetta, kind of walk us through the step-by-step thing here.
Yeah, so to put it as easily as it can be done, at least in my head, is if teams end up with the same number of wins at the end of the season, they end up in a kind of an owned playoff bracket in that sense, where you go head-to-head between the teams. So let's say 2 teams are at 14 wins. They go up against each other. You look at their matchup history. If one team won 2-0 in that matchup history, they're going to get the go-ahead. If they went 1-1, you go into the matches, look at the round differences from that game. And again, if fate were to have it that you ended up being in a tie there as well, you're actually going to have a best of 1 being played up between the 2 teams to decide who makes it through.
Well, you didn't put me to sleep, but you made my brain hurt. What we're going to do is we're going to send it over to Blue and DeBears, an unlikely combination of 2, I will add.
Dynamic duo.
They are standing by, and they're going to walk you through how this playoff thing should work.
Thank you. And if it wasn't for me winning CGS Blue, I wouldn't have no idea what I'm talking about. But thanks for that. I'm a bracket expert, and now we could do some math and some numbers, and let's figure out who's going to make playoffs, Blue.
Yeah, not really a bracket, more of like a variance chart. But moving on from
I like that.
As we know, there's 6 teams from each region that do go on to the playoffs, and we're still trying to figure out, even up until this week, what those 6 teams are going to be. No one is safe at the moment. Everybody has 3 games left to play. That goes across all 14 of our teams. You may note that there are 13 teams on this graphic. That is because we've excluded the Renegades, who, even if they make it into the top 6, are going to decline the LAN invite as they have to play in the Asian Minor, which is going to be happening on the same weekend. So a bit unfortunate for them, but for the sake of this argument, we have removed them from the chart to avoid confusion.
Get out of there.
Now, at this point in the season, the magic number to make it to playoffs is going to be 18 wins. And there are 5 out of 6 of those teams that can currently accomplish that. Ignore the weird little bars.
Well, let's try that again. Let's try it again. There we go. I have a little static electricity on my finger. I'm zapping right now. But anyways, 18 is a magic number for this week.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
And it'll be the magic number probably going into next week, too. We have SK Immortals, Cloud9, Energy, and Team Liquid that can make it to that mark, and 4 other teams that'll battle for the 1 remaining spot after that, or more if these teams don't make it up to 18 wins. Just note, if they don't get to 18 wins, they still can make it, but they can also be overtaken by their Misfits, LG, Optic, or CLG.
Okay.
Now, the reason we have you here today is we're going to ask for your predictions on not only which 6 of these teams are going to make it through, but also exactly how many wins they're going to end up with at the end of the season.
It's a lot of pressure on me, Blue. But you know what? I feel like I can do it.
Up for the challenge?
I'm up for the challenge.
All right, let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
How many wins do you think SK are going to have? Pretty sure they're going to make it to the finals, of course, but they still have to play NRG, CLG, and Winter Fox before they make it there. They need to win at least 2 of those 6 maps.
You know what? I think they're going to win 5 out of the 6 maps because they're SK, they're great, they're consistent, but more importantly, they're playing teams like CLG, NRG, who, they're a tier 1, they dominate teams, they win tournaments, and so I could only see them losing maybe 1 map out of the, against Winter Fox, NRG, and CLG?
Yeah.
1 map.
All right. Moving on from that, the Immortals is going to be another Brazilian team, currently in the number 2 spot. They've got to play the Renegades, Misfits, and Team Liquid still.
I think Team Liquid obviously going to be the hardest matchup. That's going to go 1 for 1, but the other ones could be, most likely will be 2-0. Misfits, good team, but Immortals, I think they're on a whole nother level. So 5-1 for Immortals. Let's see them around that 20-win mark.
All right, next up is the first American hope we have in the top 6 potentially. Cloud9, who have to play Team Liquid, Luminosity, and Energy. All still teams that are vying for top 6 positions at the end of the season.
I think they're going to miss little Braxy Poo, but I think they're still able to get 4 out of the 6 wins.
Okay.
Maybe 1-1 with Team Liquid, maybe 1-1 with NRG. NRG has been playing, pretty well. Yeah, 4-1. I'm sorry, 4-2. So let's see them around that 19 win mark. And they're still making playoffs. They're still good, even with Skadoodle.
Yeah,
Come on, guys.
absolutely.
They're still good.
Next up is going to be NRG, which is an interesting team that kind of surprised in this season. They came in, reforming after the Gabi era, after he went back over to Germany and whatnot, but they've done pretty well for themselves. They're currently sitting in 4th in the league, but they still have to play SK and C9. They have a bit of an easier match. They still also have to play the Foundation, who's currently last in the league, so that more than likely would end up at 2-0. But those other 2 matches, they're going to be tough. Do you still think they're going to make it to the playoffs?
That 2-0 with the Foundation really helps them a lot because, I don't think anyone expects to lose the Foundation. But against C9 and SK, that could be a 2-0 for, C9 or SK, depending how well they're playing. So I'm guaranteeing at least 3 wins for NRG, at least to go 1-1 with one of the top teams. So I'll put them around like the 17 mark.
Gotcha.
Good.
Well, Team Liquid is next up here on the chart, and they have to play Cloud9, Immortals, and Luminosity. Just like Cloud9, it's another sort of tough run here for the last 3 matches.
They've been up and down. They just picked up Twist, showing a lot of great success, and then at the summit, they kind of didn't do as well as I think a lot of people thought they would do. But, they're playing C9 Immortals and LG. Again, I said 1-1 against C9. I think they could 2-0 LG and maybe go 1-1 at the best with Immortals. So I'm thinking 3 wins, like a 3-3 for next week. So, put them around the 17 mark as well.
All right, and now we have 4 other teams remaining, but only 1 spot left. Out of CLG, Optic, Luminosity, and Misfits, which team do you think is going to end up making it through to the finals?
Well, CLG has a pretty rough ride to the finals. They play Optic, Rush, and SK, and I don't see them having enough wins to make the playoffs. I think Optic Gaming, though, has the best chance. They play Winter Fox, which should be 2-0. Complexity, which, you should be 2-0. It's Optic Gaming against Complexity. That's already 4 wins right there. And then CLG, maybe a lot of people think it's 2-0, but I think more 1-1. I think CLG might bring the heat to them. But still, that's 5 wins right there. And they have the easiest road to the playoffs, so I feel like they're going to hit that 16 mark right there. Just put it right here, guys, in the 16
mark. Just to clarify.
Just to declare that I think these guys are going to playoffs, and they are the 6th and final team. Opinion, my humble opinion.
Alrighty, well, that'll do it for us over here, and we'll check in next week to see if Eric's predictions have held true. For now, though, we are going to send it back over to Stunna at the analysis desk. So, Stunna, take it away.
Thank you for the fantastic breakdown, you two. Looking good as usual. It does look like they do have hot water in Blue's apartment right now, which is a pleasant thing for us here in the studio. But nonetheless, are these the teams that we're going to see make it over there?
Honestly, given how how detailed that breakdown was, you kind of got a good idea of who they're playing against and so on. I think it looks pretty reasonable. Obviously, Optic having the easier path of of the fringe teams really in that scenario. I think they do have a golden opportunity really to make it through to as the last top 6 team. And I think the way they played at Summit as well was a positive sign compared to what we've seen in Pro League the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I'd have to agree with what the conclusions they came to.
Absolutely. I think they're definitely onto something over there. Yeah. But it's more so we know how important each of these matches are for these teams. These players, these teams know how important each of these are because there is no true shoe-in. The top 10 still very volatile in its own right.
Yeah. And obviously we can only, make assumptions from what we know, looking at schedule and how the teams have played and everything. But, who's to say that, Optic or anyone else don't necessarily just go on a complete stumble because pressure gets them, something like that. They underperform. And that's really all it takes. You mess up a couple of games and that's it. You've kind of ruined your chances at making the playoffs. So it's still everything to play for, even for a team like Misfits are, again, have a mathematical chance, but, other than that, doesn't look too positive. Still, win out, do your job.
Well, mathematically speaking, there was a vote. The fans did vote for the PaySafe Player of the Month.
Yeah.
PaySafe card. Make sure you know, because that's one thing. Anyway, guess who won that vote? Don't guess right, because I need to surprise you.
Really? Okay, Cold Zero.
I don't know.
Cold Zero.
No, but Cold Zero did get a close second. Okay. Shroud actually wins the vote. It's almost like this happened on Reddit. We don't know. But nonetheless, Shroud wins the vote by 42%. Cold Zero coming in not far behind him at 38. However, when we do talk about Pay Safeguard, we got to talk about these top 5 plays of the week. Let's load them up right now and check them out.
they can do here, but they might find a kill. Furlan just as he's dead, mowing them down.
Okay. Tapping it finds a third. Gets down on one knee. Sits behind the rock. Not to be seen. Pops up now. Perfect timing. Gets two bodies. Got Guardian at large, though. Ooh. And Simple doesn't care.
Dennis sure has the real estate towards short, but surely someone's going to check on that. Two players giving us back. What is this?
Having the position, but just can't hit anything at all, so he goes down. Now Kusta's got to save the day. There's one and two. Looking for the third now as he swings out. Fort finally hits that shot, and a fourth from Kusta. Figuring this out, they're just now sending Kusta back. Finesse whipping big time on the initial spray. Ethan getting 2, 3, and 4 from Ethan as he goes massive here.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ESL One Code! 2 big shots in a row. Infinite's about to bring it back now. All on Nico. Rhinus can get the defuse and Nico. Oh no, Infinite! Has to keep Virtus Pro alive. Taco once closer. AW. He's looking for a third. He's gonna get it. Hit that headshot again. Oh my god.
It's important to be part of the Pro League because it's sort of the premier league for all the North American pro teams, and also it gives you the opportunity to make the LAN finals and play against some of EU's best as well.
You know, with the sponsor Mountain Dew, can be really good for up-and-coming players. It feels amazing to have this opportunity, and I'd never take it for granted, that's for sure.
Get your team apparel now at shop.eslgaming.com.
Counter-Strike is sharing incredible moments with us and will return to a memorable place. Get your tickets now at proleague.com/Dallas.
Welcome back. Week number 9 about to get underway, but before we do that, we're going to run you through just a little bit of stuff here leading up to the matches. Maybe things you didn't know, maybe things you missed. How about we meet my partner in crime right now? His name's Vendetta. What up, big dog?
I'm here all week. No, I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to see how this is going to pan out. Obviously, SK have a shot at making playoffs, like a guaranteed spot. If they get a 2-0 here, NRG obviously on a bit of a different side of the bracket need to get some W's themselves.
Well, let's take a look at today's schedule because you know what? At the end of the day, that's actually what matters. The Counter-Strike matches going on today. We've got SK NRG going to be happening. No asterisk around that at this point.
Yep.
Immortals and Renegades. Now, we've discussed the Renegades thing. Obviously, no matter what, even if they qualify, they're not going. So what does that do to a team's, I guess... mentality, how they're going to approach the game? How does it change things up?
Honestly, they've known about it for quite some time at this point, and that really hasn't done anything to lessen their performance. If anything, they've just played better and better. Considering the fact they have 2 new players in the lineup with Nex and Nifty, I think they just want to come out as strong as possible.
Well, talk about strong as possible. Let's take a look at the Immortals lineup now, because I do believe that this team has a serious shot of taking a 2-0 here if they're the Immortals we know.
Yeah, if they show up, obviously they have a great opportunity to do so. Bolts, Henny, Lucas, Steel, and FNX to round out that 5. And we've seen promising things from them in Pro League as well. It's kind of funny because both Renegades and Immortals are the 2 teams that are kind of on the hottest streaks, really. So, you know, one of them is going to have their streaks broken in that sense, or their good form slowed down a bit. And what's really cool to me is that Immortals are kind of doing it with, you know, a bit of an unsuspecting hero in the focus, and that's Lucas, because Lucas is not normally the guy you think about when you talk about Immortals. It's obvious, most oftentimes Henny, FNX, or Bolts to kind of step into that spotlight. But Lucas has been playing remarkably well throughout the entire season of Pro League, and I think that's, you know, again, just a fantastic sign for Immortals going forward that they just have more firepower to play off of.
Well, this entire team, when it's on its A game, is definitely firing on all cylinders. These guys are looking good. This is the only team that has 2-0'd SK this season.
I mean, definitely not put a weakness right there, right?
Yeah.
No, just overall, Immortals have been looking pretty decently, especially in Pro League. So I'm excited to see how they're going to do it, how they're going to close out the season.
Well, let's look now at the Renegades side of things. We do have their lineup loaded up. Azur, JKS, Ustillo, Nexa, and Nifty. Now, Nexa being that Serbian import.
Yep.
And then, you know, Nifty.
I guess Nifty is kind of an import, even though it's the NA Pro League and he is from NA, but he's joining, obviously, in formerly Australian lineup. I'm actually very excited to see these new players actually come to fruition and see how they're going to play. I think Nifty himself is kind of a bit of a standout performer for them. So seeing him being surrounded by better teammates, I think that's going to lead to good things for him.
Well, you know, when we talk about Renegades, you can't not mention a player by the name of Justin Savage. Now, not only is his last name the coolest thing I've heard in quite some time, but this guy is lethal in-game.
Yeah, absolute savage in-game and outside, apparently, too, with that name. And JKS has been one of the massive reasons, really, why we've seen Renegades have this kind of a turnaround. They started off the season 0-6. Ever since then, it's kind of been a fairy tale for that team, and has been doing it in many different ways possible. We've seen him pick up the AWP every now and again, depending on maps, in the absence of Yam and Ricky, and still obviously being able to perform at an extremely high level with rifles too.
Well, we're going to be seeing them face off tonight on Mirage and Cash, but not before we see SK and NRG really get into it here. And you know, SK coming off of this beyond the summit win. It'll be really interesting to see how they come down from that, if they're able to keep up that composure and that world-class play. But we do see Fur, Fallen, Coldzera, Taco, and Phelps Now, these guys, definitely no one to mess around with.
Oh, definitely not. Just pound for pound, world-class players across the board. No real weakness really to their lineup. I think the only thing you can really harp on them for is, I guess, lack of synergy in terms of team play as of right now in the current state they find themselves in. But individually, what a team.
Well, I think it's really interesting to sit here and talk about SK in terms of Fallen. And, you know, we can talk about, okay, well, coming back into his groove, this and that. Fallen is a staple to that team.
Fallen is kind of the end-all, be-all, really. And it's, interesting to talk about because you have so many players on that side who do so well for themselves individually, like Fur, like Cold, and Phelps, and so on. But Fallen really is that kind of a guy who just makes everyone go. He's always going to take that sacrificial role and basically put it on himself to do the toughest things necessary to allow for his teammates to be in their best position possible to succeed. And I think that's admirable, really, from so many points of views that he's willing to do that over the so many years as well, and it's constantly proving to be successful as well. So even though one of the reasons why you're seeing SK being a bit more unstable is because on a general level he hasn't really performed all that well compared to his last year. I think it's just a matter of time before we see the old Fallen kind of just get back into the swing of things. And we saw some very promising signs at the summit.
Well, even getting back into the swing of things, we're talking about the grandfather of Brazilian CS at this point. So whether he's bringing it statistically or not, he's definitely bringing something to the table there that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, just the structure that he's been able to build around that SK squad is invaluable. And even though he's been struggling overall in tournaments, I guess, he's still been doing pretty well for himself in EPL, actually better than he did last season.
Well, let's take a look now at their competitor. Let's take a look at the NRG lineup. Daps, PTR, Fugly, Little Man, and Breeze. What do we know about NRG, Vendetta?
Obviously, they have a recent roster addition to the squad. It's Little Man coming in from Marquee, who got benched after Copenhagen Games. So them NRG making roster changes fairly close up to the playoffs, and while they're in a pretty promising spot actually to book their ticket to Dallas, which is interesting, and obviously that creates a lot of speculation as to what went on within the team. In any case, it's their decision. They're going to have to play out with it, and ever since we've seen them play with Lilman, it hasn't really necessarily been like at a slower pace. They've been keeping it up. They've been performing well as too.
Well, performing well tonight is a big deal for SK. I mean, we talked about it's a must. I mean, at this point, do it for the ease of mind, because there's a super high likelihood they're going through regardless. But a 2-0 tonight will solidify their berth into the LAN finals in Dallas. A 2-0 tonight. But in order to 2-0, they're going to have to go through Inferno and then Train. Now, we know Train, they've had a little bit of trouble as of recently in adding the new player.
Yeah, actually, both maps have been kind of problematic for them. Even though they've gotten W's on Inferno, their playstyle is not necessarily the safest one to play. And I think we got a bit of an evidence of that when they played versus Gambit at the Summit this weekend. The fact that Gambit just took full advantage of how they played or tried to get banana control and so on. And NRG, if they've had a couple of eyes on what was going on there, definitely something they could play into. And Train, as you said, used to be a staple for SK, not so much anymore. A lot of weird plays being made, especially on their CT side.
Well, I think it's time now we throw it over to DeBears, who is standing by to run us through NRG's Inferno.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Stromberg Strategy. We're going to take a look at NRG on Inferno. Now, with the addition of Lil Man, you're going to see that they have a new player. Look at that guy, Lil Man. And what I took from this clip is that you're going to see this hit up a lot by Team NRG. They're going to spot for information, nothing too crazy right now. They're going to rely on teamwork. It's going to show teamwork. You see, he's in pit. He's hiding archway daps. He's going to pull them in the bomb site. Little Man, he's not over-aggressing. He's not over-peeking. He'll be in the spot. He'll play in the bomb site a lot on Inferno. Just watch for it. All right? He's going to be in this. He's going to be waiting for his teammates. He's waiting for Fugly and Breezy to call out for information. He's not over-aggressing again. He's waiting for them. He's going to catch two people off guard, Amnek and Shazam, and then cleans out the third. Just a little snippet from him to see what Lil Man come back in action. He was a pugger. He came to the Pro League. Is he the next Stewie? Probably not, but it shows hope that you never know what's going to happen, especially in CSGO. Lil Man, good job for you. Hopefully you do well. Back to you guys.
I think Eric might be onto something there. He probably won't be the next Stewie, But at this point in North America, we're not going to write anything off, right?
No, we can't write anything off. And to be fair, like beating the next two is a pretty high bar to set for pretty much anyone, I think. So even if you're not the next two, you can still be pretty damn good.
Well, pretty damn good is all that you can do in this world is do your best, and that's all that works, right?
Yeah, it's very true. And I think NRG will have to do their best, really, if they're going to have a shot tonight.
So we know the implications tonight with SK 2-0ing. They solidify their way through the playoffs. And I think it's important to note now as I bring the commentators into the discussion, it's definitely coming down from a LAN like that. Sam, you probably got good experience with this. Is what is the mentality coming back and coming away from an event with some of these teams?
Well, a lot of the time when you come back from LAN, you're really energized, or you kind of want to just chill. It kind of depends on the LAN, right? Like, if you go and you boot camp for 2 weeks before a major, for instance, and you come back from a major, a lot of times you just want to take like a week off. You don't practice. You just play matches or whatever you have prior to, match wise, and you kind of just chill. And then other times you come back from a LAN, like maybe beyond the summit, and maybe you don't practice as hard and you get really re-energized. Another thing that happens when you come back from LAN is that a lot of people actually play worse for a little bit. It takes a couple of days of adjustment just because of the ping difference. Playing in North America on LAN and online is so different because of that, peaker's advantage and everything. And sometimes it takes a couple of days to get back to that play style, especially if it's like a 3 or 4 day LAN.
Well, definitely. I mean, looking into this one, I think SK should have their work cut out for them, but maybe not.
I mean, the maps doesn't necessarily give them anything for free. I think that's fair to point out. But still, it's SK coming off a LAN victory. I think we've seen in the past that they don't necessarily have the same kind of lulls after doing well at an event, like let's say a VP does. And so, I'm still going to have to side with the Brazilians for this one.
Well, I get the same kind of lulls all the time, if you get what I'm saying. Anyway, we're going to throw it to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got SK and NRG duking it out on Inferno. So make sure you're here with us when we're back.
ESL Pro League is brought to you in part by Logitech G, Pay Safeguard, Legion Lenovo, Mountain Dew League, and ESEA.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the ESL Pro League. 8 weeks of competition have led up to this, and now we're going to start to figure out who exactly will be making it to the playoffs come just over a month from now when it's time for the showdown in Dallas. SK will be taking on NRG here today. Both these teams are in contention to play off or earn those playoff positions, excuse me. And if we do indeed see SK taking both of these maps 2-0, then they will push forward into what we're calling the safe zone to be able to remain at the very least within the top 6 and push forward into that spot. I'll need these 2 matches and they're good. They have their slots secured, but we're already into it. Going into Inferno here on the pistol round, where NRG is going to be starting off on the T side. We're getting right into the combat too. Fallen just gets chunked right at the start down to 40 and now 20 HP as he's forced to back up inside of the church. The rest of the members of NRG though aren't really going to follow it up with anything else. They still have Fur waiting out over here. Rotates have come through mid from the SK camp, and now coldzera holds a flank, so they're kind of stuck here in Banana now, and coldzera just ripping them to shreds. 3 kills back to back to back, and aggressively as well. Finally, response is rolling out from NRG's own end as Peter picks up 2 quick kills. Breeze has himself a free frag here, but no, misses up in a huge way, and now it's just a 1v3. Peter trying to have to clutch this out with an ace, and he's already down to 54 HP. In a moment there, he'll just end up peeking in.
Wow,
double
the
stack
rare
like
mistake from Breeze when it comes to, aiming and technical skill. It almost never happens with him. Could have made it a very manageable situation if he got that kill, putting it into a 2v2. But yeah, the flank comes out from Cold. The lurker was all the way in alt mid, so he wasn't watching the mid rundown or anything. But NRG did have a really good nade timing onto Fallen at the start of the round. I thought that was a really, really neat thing that they did. They didn't throw it right away or anything. They delayed it until their players were around the half wall, and then they threw it while he was kind of stuck there. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, now NRG are going to be holding up here as they are forced into just the buy round. They weren't not able to get the plant back on round number 1, so they're going to be stuck here, which is forcing into this one.
And it looks like we're going to see a change. So if you remember, coldzera has been playing B for SK throughout Inferno. And I remember when they did that setup, I told you, I said, it's just odd that they have him there. I'd much rather have him in the secondary op spot, if Fallen's going to primary op B, so he can run around in op A. I thought Phelps was getting caught around porch a lot, so now they actually switched. Fur going to B, Phelps moving to arch side, and Cold playing porch. We'll see if they're going to continue to do that or if this is like a one-round thing.
Yeah. Keep our eyes on that heading into the later rounds here. But right now, NRG is trying to brute force their way up Banana pretty unsuccessfully, as you can see from Fur's perspective. Just picks up a quick triple kill there against Daps, little man of Peter, and now it's just Fugly left alive. Probably not going to be able to get much done, so expect the quick second round roll up onto the board here for SK and control things with minimal losses. Timing not working out too well for Fugly there, so Fur does indeed take him out, and he ends up with the ace on the round.
An ace, $3,000 more because of the ump kills, already at 7-0. So it looks like, he could probably be pretty good at B.
Yeah. Seems like
I actually like him at Banana if he plays there because, it's a spot that he could get aggressive, like mid-round pretty easily, I think. And I think it fits a lot of his strengths. So we'll see. They still have Fur over at B, so yeah, I think this is a switch that they made. And now Cold can kind of run around in op A if he needs to. So yeah, I think this is a good switch.
Yeah, right now I think he's pushing himself into Boiler for this round. This is just to probably shut down NRG as quickly as possible if they wanted to go for the quick halls control. Obviously, they're just on Glocks, so they are going to be having to hold themselves back a tad over towards Crossroads here. SK don't seem too scared of them. However, they're already pushing directly through mid. Good stuff from Phelps and Cole, just knocking out 2 more players over here at Crossroads. Not a whole lot of room for Fugly and Daps to accomplish all that much, and now just down to Fugly again. So 3-0, quick start for SK. Good response from Fugly, but he's definitely not going to be able to get anything else done with those 3 players rushing him. So 3-0 start for SK, and they, for the most part, in these last 2 rounds, they barely take any losses at all. I think they only lose 1 player overall there.
Yeah, and they just have a ton of money. They're going to have 4 umps. I'd be surprised if Cold doesn't buy an op here, and they just run like a 4 op setup. I think it's like incredibly powerful when you do that. The op can lock things down, make it 4v5 maybe, hold things pretty aggressively, which can allow you to like overplay certain positions. Phelps is going to pretty molly middle, it looks like.
Cole indeed playing into that porch spot that you mentioned before, so he'll be waiting.
This is going to be surprising for NRG. Like, a lot of people will straight peek mid in these situations and just kind of give up this free frag to Cold.
Rest of NRG, however, still trying to move back in and take that Hall's control that we're so used to seeing now in the gun rounds. And for the most part, they are going to get it for free. Obviously, a little bit of resistance from Taco and some of the others further down the hallway, and nades moving in, I think, early on to connect some damage onto both Breeze and Peter over here towards Banana more so. 37 HP on Breeze, though. He's already not looking too good. Peter, I think, getting hit a little bit there, too, down to just about a quarter of his health being lost there. And beyond moving into the halls here, which essentially was given to them for free, NRG still have not gained much as we now move down to a minute remaining on the clock. Even SK have chosen to get aggressive now over here on Banana. And Fugly, of course, probably going to be a little mad about that, getting tagged randomly. So he loses 20 of his own HP. Breeze, thankfully, does decide to watch out for this flank, so they won't just get completely pushed from behind and annihilated. But the other problem is going to be Fur. Well, if they're even going to check for his position. If not, he could just rip them to shreds when they do decide to push back up. At the very least, acting as an early warning, which will be the case here. Breeze catching Fur, thankfully, so he doesn't just utterly destroy the entire hit, but it is still going to slow NRG down a tad now that they've been spotted. Slowing the rotates from SK, though. Only just now we're seeing a few players go through arches. Fallen able to hold for one pickup, but it's short-lived as Breeze immediately trades him back down, and the rest of NRG moving to take control of the site. So Breeze even just continuing to push forward up onto his third kill now as he eliminates Phelps, and that should kill the potential for SK to even think about doing this retake. Now there's a 4v2. They still have CT smoke back out. Cold's probably going to stick around, see if he can punish anyone trying to go hunting for him specifically, but then after that is going to fall back to the A site and save the op.
Yeah, and if I was Taco, I'd actually get exits here, because if you do get, one kill apiece, you're going to force them on an eco if you win this following round, and SK is going to have a lot of money. Fur and Fallen, I actually really liked the setup that they did. Fur just got caught trying to dodge a flash. He was expecting a flash to come. Didn't come. Just, got killed on the side without really doing anything. And then Fallen alone with an 5 guys rushing him and just flash bang. You can't expect him to do much there. So the setup was nice, though. If you saw what happened, I know it didn't work out, but if you guys are wanting to emulate a setup like that, don't be afraid to try that. So Fallen was jump spotting. He's going to take contact generally, not necessarily fighting, but they're going to see him and they're going to have to worry about him repeating. And a lot of the time, that's just going to allow Fur to just get a freebie for that first guy. And then all of a sudden, there's 30 seconds left. You know how many are probably coming B, and you could react appropriately.
So obviously, as we mentioned previously too, SK still having plenty of cash and carrying those umps through from the second round. So they are going to have no problems at all, not only rebuying into this, but also giving Fallen the op, so they're back up to a double op instead of now a better buy than what they had in the last round here. Taco, of course, also saving the UMP, is still going to be sticking with that one, but the rest of the team is now fully armed, and now NRG will have a little bit more to worry about here since they have dispatched to the UMPs and have to go up against the full M4 buys. Some players even still having extra money after this too, so we could see another half buy that they would get for free if Taco is able to donate pistols over or something like that. But meanwhile, in the actual round, well, we've got Fallen very aggressively perched up on the car spot. Nice flashbang from way up on top, though. Connects perfectly onto him, makes him miss the shot. Not much damage being returned, though, when NRG does go for the peak. He only loses a quarter of his health, and it gives over a small amount of control to NRG.
Yeah, so B players are out of smokes now in Fur and Fallen, but they do have a lot of control and a lot of information. Fur just playing around the half wall. They're keeping 2B. NRG's kind of letting them have that. Taco saving his smoke. You're usually going to see him save his smoke when he's playing around balcony and pit, just like he is here. And now the XQ comes, and he's just able to play a very strong position.
Well, the rest of NRG, after the smoke is deployed, they do decide to fall back from the mid choke point here, with the exception of Fugly being left inside of Boiler. He sounds the all clear, but still, the rest of them are continuing over towards Banana. SK have not moved off of this, however, either. They still have 2 players sitting pretty much ready for any sort of B hit to work their way over here from CT. And one close to Arch is ready to rotate here too. That's probably going to be Coldzera in that position. Fallen watching out as well. Spots it first off, but he is going to get smoked. The molly went in the way. They are going to have to use a second smoke to try and get past that cleanly. However, not using so at the moment. What's even worse, Fur getting boosted back up. Fallen able to spot multiple players through the smoke, and this entire hit's just getting absolutely destroyed. Peter's no time left. He's got to run, hide himself away, and attempting to go for an additional kill here. Fur takes him down post-timer, so he'll get no additional cash and only have $1,000 for this round.
Yeah, 2 smoke kills come out. Fallen and Fur both get one. Fur gets a kill above the smoke. That's 3 kills that they got that are just like for free, essentially, right? How are you going to win the round when that happens? When 3 or 4 kills go down where you don't even get a chance to shoot at somebody. So SK played it very, very well. A really good setup. If you notice, they boosted over the smoke, when those smokes went down. So good recognition by them. And now NRG on a save, and it's looking really good for SK.
So now we do see Coldzera is going to be waiting inside. Oh, Fugly just going full speed down through Boiler. destroys him. Not a whole lot he can do about that. And this is actually falling apart a little bit here on the defense for SK. Phelps is still trying to sneak back in and pick off any additional players that he can. He's got to be careful about this, though. Players can sneak out from the balcony or on the site itself and surprise him, just like his last two teammates had happen to take them out. So now all of a sudden this is going to be put into a 4v3 scenario. Two of the players from NRG also having upgraded guns to work with, mind you, no one having armor, so the rifle is going to be a little bit tricky to use. Fugly could be able to find some impact, however, from his position. Phelps now striking, they're re-evening out the situation, but Fugly now with that up, striking back. Phelps still trying to sneak back in over here on the barrel side. Great re-peek into the situation from Daps, though, is now he's got the up. He's going to pick up an additional kill against Phelps, and that should pretty much kill this. Fur's got nothing left that he can do in a 1v3, so he's going to be backing away from this. Actually does reinitialize himself into the site, trying to pick off one or two players if he can. And in fact, they will do that, taking out Peter. Unfortunately, doesn't drop either of the ops, so NRG are still going to escape not only with a round that they had no business winning, but two ops as well.
Yeah, I mean, NRG won a round that you're exactly right, had no business winning. Cold gets caught in boiler. Taco gets caught on the side of the site, trying to get back up into site. There's a little ledge there. He gets taken out. I don't even think he got a kill. And, you know, SK was looking great before that round, but now all of a sudden NRG, I mean, if they win this, SK is going to be on a save and they're going to have a ton of money.
So there's going to be Fallen picking up the first kill here against the Little Man right early on in the round, and thankfully SK did have this.
What do you think about the Little Man from Marquee Swap?
I thought it was interesting. Well, I'm still confused as to the reasoning why it happened. It seemed because I didn't follow it too closely. It seemed like it happened.
They said Marquee just had a lot of communication issues.
Yeah.
Like Professor Chaos had to call everything for him. I think Professor Chaos is their coach, correct?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, I think he had to like basically calm for him. I think was like the main thing.
I mean, it seemed like he was doing fine for the first couple weeks of Pro League, but then it seemed like he had a huge dive-off in his overall performance. Like, him and Breezy were, like, together. We were just doing fantastic. Especially on, like, Cash, I think they were really good on together. But then that just completely went away halfway through the season, and then I didn't see much from him. It was mainly just Breeze, so I can kind of see why they went for that. However, Phelps is going to do something interesting here now, though, as I'm sure you're seeing. Diving into the smoke at mid-choke point. He did lose Coldzera, however, in the process of this, but maybe he can strike back now as he has his position. I think there's going to be a player behind him, too, and he's got to check this right now. And oh, Peter looks right at him, but apparently didn't see him or have enough time to recover to that, so he gets a double before being traded back out. Now this goes to a 3v2. Fugly and Breeze, the last two standing here for NRG, and they have themselves a position pushed forward, but there's an op shooting back at them over inside of Library with Fallen having control of that. Fugly picks up the kill and pit against Taco, however, and that does secure the site. With 20 seconds left, they'll be able to get the plant, but their health pools are not looking great at the moment, and they don't have any utility to stem the tide for the retake. All of SK should be able to just push directly back in, and so long as they're not too foolhardy about this.
And they're going to wait for Fur to get apartments, and he's probably going to throw a nade right onto Fugly. So Fallen just kind of watching the perimeter, waiting for Fur, and then when Fur's ready to go, that's when they'll actually hit it.
Fur now in position, can deploy utility if he can. Molly's going to go down and pit to make sure that his teammate does not get immediately picked off and going for the site retake. Even works out better because they just bait them both out of cover. And there you go. Like I said before, as long as they don't overplay that, it's a relatively easy retake in the 2v2. And they succeed, getting back onto the winning train here, pushing the scoreline to 5-2.
I mean, they make it look easy, but it's easy because of how patient they are.
Yeah.
Notice how slowly they took it. They waited. They made sure there was no possible way that any of them were going to get flanked. Fallen watched Moto. He watched Porch. He went back to Moto. They go at the proper timings. And then when it's like a 2v1 versus Breeze, what do? They just jiggle peek because they know he's sight, and then they can kill him together. So patience by SK. They're always extremely patient in those close minute situations. And don't give many outs for the T's to win the round. Now PTR getting the best of Fallen on that op kill at Car. While Fallen tries to challenge, he made it 4v5 the round before, but this round gets taken out very early on.
Peter still trying to pop a shot through the half wall there. The smoke does roll in, so trying to counteract. The Opera is getting aggressive, but unfortunately, neither of them from the SK camp were pushed up nearly as far enough. Fallen, though, does actually get taken down by Peter. So off of that, NRG yield the advantage, of course. And there'll be no revenge from SK just as of yet. as we can see NRG now just moving into the halls to take quick control here, and then probably start their push onto the A-bomb site, where you still have a two-man stack waiting for it. The only problem is going to be the B rotates, but thankfully they're already sort of preemptively moving over to the site. Phelps moves himself like halfway down highway already, and obviously if he needs to come back, Fur is going to give him a good 5 to 10 second warning to be able to do that with his B position. Even Fur is looking like he may start to push out here in a moment, so NRG, again, the slow pace is kind of fighting against them as it's buying time for SK to find more intel and really get an easy read in terms of what they're actually trying to do for their overall strat.
Yeah, and they're only left with a smoke and a HE grenade, and SK is only left with 3 flashbangs. So very limited utility on both teams. Fur just in a cheeky position, hiding at the car.
Peeking back out, he'll get one. Good damage to a second. Unfortunately, that wood paneling is not going to be the best to cover, but look at all the damage he did. 3 players, around 40 HP or less. Phelps hits the double against Daps and Fugly as they try to move back in, but now he's alone, unfortunately. 10 seconds left. The bomb is coming up to the site, and it's going to peek directly into Phelps, but he misses over to the pistol. Takes down Peter. Now he can just hide. His teammate's going to be coming up trying to get the plant, but Phelps is running. He knows that plant's not going to go down, and he'll just win out the round on the timer.
Yeah, the 2 heroes of that round, Phelps and Fur. I know Fur only got that 1 kill, but he did a ton of damage, and that allowed Phelps. You see when he gets that collateral, both assists are from Fur. If he doesn't get that collateral and they're able to plant the bomb with 2 players there and 1 planting and 1 covering, think about how much more difficult that is for Phelps, right? They probably lose that round, because what is he going to try to rush the planter there? Then the other guy just kills him, right? If he lets the bomb go down, then all of a sudden Breeze is flanking and it's a 3v1. So good damage by Fur. Apartment rush coming out from Fugly. Taco reacting with a Molotov and smoke. Cold again getting taken out early against these, low bot rounds. Yeah.
Just Tech 9s and CZs, they keep getting destroyed by in the early round here. So once again, it's 2 rifles.
Very unlike Cold.
Going into the hands of NRG, and one of them is also an op.
It's really just fallen off a lot. I mean, after that 1.5 rating or whatever at the summit. I mean, come on, man.
It's really got to step it up.
Yeah, you really got to step it up.
Starting to bring the team down.
Yeah.
Well, Fallen is going to get flashed out early on over here behind the crypts, and smokes too, but he challenges it, gets a kill. Unfortunately, will be very quickly traded out after he does go into the open there, so it leaves things into a 3v2 now, where more than likely, I don't even know if these well, even if they do, yeah, it's not going too successfully. Furt just kind of walks into an op at the very end of it, and Taco, obviously now that he's alone in a 1v3, there's not going to be a whole lot left that he can do. Just trying to retrieve a better gun and then fall back to save now.
Yeah, I think Cold actually had an op that round as well. I think. I'm not 100%, because, I mean, they did take or actually it might have just been Fallen's op that they picked up. But anyways, Cold again, dying to that pistol, though, allowing NRG to kind of leverage that into a round win. Taco getting really hurt at the start. Everything kind of just fell apart for SK there.
So Fugly is going to be able to pick up his 3rd and final kill on the round as they do escape with it. Still keeping themselves competitive in this one, and it's going to break SK too, which means they have a good chance to easily pick up a 4th here.
Yeah, and the thing that happened is usually when SK loses rounds, they're able to salvage a gun or 2. They're able to keep their economy intact and whatnot, and then they keep buying aggressively until they break your economy and then build up their own. It's usually how SK CT sides tend to go. This time, though, they're still going to buy aggressively. They have pistols, armors, limited utility, but they're going to buy really aggro here. They're just kind of playing default spots, though. So NRG slowing it down. They have full nades. They have everything they need to, push back the pistols and not take too many risks. And SK already used a lot of their utility. They've already used 2 smokes so far.
So they're going to find themselves fairly limited on their ability to actually hold off the push in a moment here. NRG is in no rush to close out on this round, just taking their time with it as they have in some of these past ones as well. Just moving up towards alt mid, now probably going to try to send a player or 2 into halls in a second as well. Fugly keeps watching that, but actually no one really heading towards that currently. Just trying to push in towards mid choke, and it's Fugly leading the charge here, but the CTs beyond the threshold trying to defend this area are well behind smokes. First bit of action, though, is going to come from Little Man, who forces his way in against further behind the sandbags. Easy kill to pick back up. No one else even here defending the site. Fallen, although the smoke's actually pretty bad. He can see very clearly beyond the right side of that, but I think he's being a little bit cautious of that being done on purpose. So as he does push back in, still really not going to be able to find much, unfortunately, for the CT side. And Daps continuing to spray players from SK down through the smoke there. It's just left the Taco, and it will indeed be an easy 4th round pickup for NRG.
Yeah, and SK kind of a little bit impatient from them, right? Like the round is lost at that point when Fur dies there, and it's a 5v4 retake on B when you have just pistols, right? Like the round is lost. You're not going to win that. Kind of forcing it a little bit, going for kills that you really just aren't going to get, most likely. I mean, even if Fallen gets one there, he dies right after, right? So, you know, better thing to do there if you're SK is just kind of save the pistol armor, because they're going to be on a full save next round. So why not just give it another shot, right? Basically, you know, you have pistol armor on 4 players. You're going to be able to have a decent chance of winning the round next round, and also, you know, limiting their economy more. Maybe you go for exits instead of that. So we see SK, they're up 6-4, but NRG has a lot of money off winning those 2 rounds that they were pretty low utility, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the 2 rounds that they won that really brought a lot of momentum into their favor in order to bring it, you know, to 6-4.
Yeah, so now SK going back on to another full save here. And I mean, you're not going to be expecting a whole lot of defense being put up, but just default pistols and like a 5.7 and P250 when you look at Taco and Fur. Unless Taco and Fur combined just completely go off here, more than likely this is going to be another walkover round, and it's going to start off well for Peter as he does move in. Dispatching of Cold Zera, another opportunity for a kill is actually missed, but bringing Taco down to 19 HP is still going to be a pretty nice advantage that they'll take, especially with no additional damage being traded back out. Beyond this, again, much like the last round, though, NRG are just continuing to take their time, waiting for SK to get impatient, as they have continued to show a pattern of doing. Fallen just peeking out towards Banana there. It's going to be another kill in the favor of NRG. And now the remaining 3, while focusing the defenses over towards the B direction, not really committing people to it, but they're going to try to put a few more players to swing that way in the event they do end up going up Banana again. But NRG, it is looking like they may decide to investigate towards the other site this time, in which case all they have to do is take down Phelps and Arches, and it is an open site and an open round for NRG to claim a 5th.
Yeah, just going against USPs generally. Taco and even armor in a 5.7. So really easy round for NRG to win. And although SK is looking, you know, a little shaky on a couple of these rounds, they shouldn't have lost, right? You know, just gun-wise, especially the first one that they lost. The second one was a little bit more fair. There was like 2 pistols on NRG, a couple AKs, and an AWP, I believe. But SK has such a good T-side on this map. I remember, gosh, when they played against Cloud9 on it, I think it was, right? It was looking pretty bad for them on CT side, and then they just came back on the T side and won like 13 in a row or something like that. So their T side is pretty dangerous. But NRG, you know, is doing a good job right now getting back into this game.
That is going to be the other thing when we do switch sides. I feel like SK is going to bring a much more complex T side than what NRG brings, and NRG may just not be able to, or NRG may just not be ready for what SK brings and have adequate ways to sort of counter that back out. So I feel like SK are going to have a lot of credit going their way when we do switch sides and put them on the T side.
Well, I don't want to take too much away from NRG because they have been playing well as of now. But I think a few mistakes by SK have really shaped up this game so far in the early portions of it, right? Even going back to the double ump round that they had to be, you know, when Fur was looking away when they just came up. Like, if he's just like looking towards them there, he honestly definitely gets that first kill. I mean, Breeze was the one that killed him. I believe he was weak at the time even. And he probably gets another one, and they probably win that round, right? And then obviously losing the round when Cold's in Boiler to like full pistols. That was basically a full save, I think, by NRG, if I'm not mistaken. They might have had pistol armor. But those 2 rounds especially, I mean, the 3rd round that they lost when Cold got entry with that pistol as well, that was a little bit more fair of a gun round. But those 2 rounds are rounds that SK normally, you know, wins. So a couple mistakes by them are, in my opinion, one of the things where you're like, okay, they lost a couple rounds because of their own mistakes. Is that going to continue to happen, right? Probably not.
Yeah. So hopefully SK can get things together and we'll be able to see them close out. But this would be a huge victory for NRG because they are one of the teams that kind of have a bit of a rougher path here towards the end of it, towards the end of the season. So there's a chance that they could get bumped out of their current top 6 position if they're not careful about some of these tougher matches. But if they can steal even one
if they just get one map
off of SK, that's like a huge thing that could make the difference.
All 3 sites set.
Breeze catching the first one. Room for Taco to respond, and Breeze continues to push the issue, but it does look like NRG end up coming out on top of it at the end of the day. A 3v2 situation, though, as those rotates are coming in very quickly, and Fallen, just goes into the open. And that leaves only Fur alive with a full utility kit and just a UMP, who's now really going to have no choice but to probably hang out in library and try to punish anyone from NRG that would get over aggressive here. The round is once again going in to the favor of NRG, and they're going to tie this up at 6-6.
Yeah, and NRG just kind of waiting around, taking control, and as soon as they go out boiler, they go straight up into sight, into porch, and they get a really good sight flash that blinded Cold when he was kind of like that first point of contact. So if he gets that kill and then hides, it makes it pretty easy for the Moto guys. But nobody in pit or anything like that. All three site sides, so a very different look than you're used to seeing if you're a T. But kind of a strange take there, right? They kind of don't just run up. They kind of get up porch and they sort of like jiggle peeking everything and whatnot. As Breeze gets that entry and the second kill onto Taco. So good job by Breeze. Once again, Breeze usually the highlight player for me on NRG.
Yeah. And SK going to be put into a pretty poor situation economically here again. We're going into some of the final rounds of the half. Just upgraded pistols, a few of them able to buy up armor behind it, and Fallen goes for the scout. Cold Zera is going to be challenging this early on. Good damage, but I am unable to find that last bullet needed to execute, and Japs even just holding on now with the MAC-10, finalizing a second one on the Taco. And he also got brought down relatively low. In fact, the two that did push in the halls, their combined HP is now 16 between the two of them. So one whiff of the wind, and either one of them are going to end up getting knocked out here. But Fugly's already retreated back. Daps, I think, is just waiting on the steps in case anyone tries to push back out so that he can give the intel. And Daps, I think, even maybe spotting the player. So Phelps is going to have to be careful and watch his back in the moment. But what's more important is that Phelps did spot that re-entry into A, so they are going to send the rotates in the other direction, which allows for Fur to pick up some massive kills here. One on the Deagle, one through the nade. Two of these players are also still lit. If he could knock out Breezy on a repeat here, he could actually just clutch this out solo, essentially. But Breeze is going to be able to find that finalization onto Fur, finally taking him out of the picture. And now it's just on Fault. He is focusing on Breeze at this point, though, and he's going to hit the headshot right on. So once again, the possibility for a clutch is reignited, but he has to watch out for his flank, as Fugly is coming from the other direction, and he needs to check that graveyard position too, which unfortunately he does not. So Daps is going to take him out of the round, finishing it up with a 3K, and now allowing for NRG to take the lead.
Yeah, and NRG with kind of a bit of a botched smoke. But man, they have so much money right now. See, a little bit of a botched smoke allows Fur to get that Deagle kill, the nade onto PTR.
So this will take us into what could be the last gun round here, possibly, if SK ends up losing out on this one. Fallen again, going for the aggressive mid-peak. Thankfully for him, no one on NRG. Well, bit of a two-way street, but no one from NRG is going to actually end up peeking out into mid. So no battle early on here. And NRG themselves do just split up again. Two heading towards the halls, two holding steady on Banana, and obviously Peter with the op watching out for any mid-peaks that he would be able to punish. Fallen has given up his position in the meanwhile, though, falling back and away from this. Fugly peeking out into the halls there. He's going to be checking for players early on, but nothing being spotted by him either.
Yeah, so they send 3 towards A. Phelps kind of in CT spawn. Fur just basically holding B by himself, just right through the smoke at middle.
Peter once again also hitting the first shot against Fallen. Taking him out of the play for yet another round where he often finds himself going down early on, even though he has the op a lot of these times.
Yeah, it's twice now. The PTR has made it 4v5 and by killing Fallen.
Still no sign of where exactly NRG are going to take this, though. At least when you look at the SK players here. As far as we can see, more than likely this is going to end up either being a fake towards A or just a full commitment in a moment. The bomb still being back down. Cold is able to hold off for one player, though, and now this is going to send the spiraling up Banana pretty quickly now that they've countered out the balcony pressure. They are being a little bit slow on the lead just because they don't want to give it away right from the get-go of things. But Fur is here, however, he's the only one here. Thankfully, he has the boost-up position, but he can only really get one kill confidently from up on top, but he continues to spray into it. Down at 44 HP, and Peter tries to push inside the smoke. I think that gives him away. Thankfully, they have Fugly coming in on a counter flank, who's going to be able to punish Phelps. That'll be responded to by Fur. Mind you, the timer getting very low, but Little Man is able to sneak in the plant. Now, though, he's alone against a 1v3. Has to try and look for the ability to clutch this one back out. Basically, no utility to utilize here either. He's going to get aggressive about this, though. I'm trying to push his way possibly over towards the church, but gets skittish at the last second and falls back to a much more predictable position behind the crypts. He's still continuing to shift it around. He has missed their actual re-entrance onto the site, and they're already on the bomb. Trying to take the first, still gets it, but has to continue spraying into it. Fur's going to be able to escape with that plant before he even peaks, though. And when push comes to shove, coldzera does just hop out, finishes the job with his USP, and SK reties this match back up at 7-7.
Yeah, for already at 17 frags, 17 and 6, just top of the server. Just crazy how good this guy is. You know, like a lot of time when you're shooting like that kill, if you watch from Fugly's point of view, he's just like moving the whole time, and like it looks like he's pre-firing and moving and killing you so fast. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Fur at the moment seems to be in a lot of ways like single-handedly saving all these B site takes. As we saw there, he kind of destroyed it enough so that they could very easily retake that situation, and in a few other rounds he's had quite a large amount of presence there too. So into the last round, we're gonna go now. And again, it's slow and quiet at the start from NRG. Just having one player this time go into the halls, at least further up into it. Fallen does spot the jump at half wall, but he does not want to stick around the challenge. He's had a pretty poor track record with challenging things out here, just at the edge of B. So he is going to decide to give up his position and just fall back to the site instead. And we have a possible duel going to be happening here on the balcony too. Daps and Taco have not peeked out enough to be able to spot each other just yet. But off of those bullets, well, Daps decides to go for it, but Taco still able to react to it in time to pick up the kill. Still up and rolling with 13 HP as well, and still up on that balcony position, which is the most surprising aspect of this right now. Only just at that moment does he fall back into pit. Little Man finally trading out a kill on a coldzera after he picks up the frag on Breeze. Phelps is still here though. He's rotated in the situation. If they cross out, it's going to be so hard to get past this setup currently. Thankfully, they do end up making it happen, but heavy damage on the Fugly. Rotates already pretty much having arrived. Peter needs to sink this shot onto Fur for them to have a chance at this. Otherwise, round's going to be over. So there's no way Fugly survived with 16 HP. They succeeded at it, though, so now it's down to Fallen to clutch this out in the 1v2. He's already got a position past Library, heading over here towards Moto right now. They are paying attention to that direction, but Fallen's going to have a tough time spotting Fugly right over there. Finally sees the head peeking out, but Fugly can just duck away now, wait for his teammate to go for it. Flashbang hitting, he's going to try to work this with a pistol. Instant headshot onto Fugly to close out. Now the smoke gets in the way. That'll force Peter to make a move. They try to get up close and personal here. Fallen spotting it, but can't hit his bullets. Now he's out of ammo on the pistol, has to go over to the up, but he'll be unsuccessful in hitting the kill. So Peter clutches it out in the end, and we do see the 8-7 lead going by the way of NRG to close out the first half. Stick with us, guys. It's a close match, and you don't want to miss the second half.
ESL Pro League is brought to you in part by Logitech G, Pay Safeguard, Legion Lenovo, Mountain Dew League, and ESEA.
Well, welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the ESL Pro League. NRG versus SK, well on its way into map number 1 here, and it's been a little bit closer than we've expected. A few crucial mistakes from the SK camp has allowed for NRG to not only round an early comeback touch after SK took the lead, but also take the lead themselves at the end of the half, now leading 8-7 coming off of their T side.
Yeah, I mean, they were down. NRG was 6-2. They win a couple swing rounds. They get a ton of money during that end of that half. Able to kind of bring it back, despite Fur being 17-7. The thing about NRG is, though, I watched them at Copenhagen games, and they played a very similar style. And they lost to, when I was watching, they lost to Tricked, I believe it was, with Hunden, Asilion, who was on a team that got relegated, for instance.
Yeah.
Last season in Splice, when he was in North America. they had Freeze, and I can't remember the two other players, but they played Inferno the exact same way. But you want to know what the difference was? Is that those important kills that they're getting now, where Breeze goes up Porch, and let's be real, he's like entering SK, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one round they had 3 players side. He killed Cold, he killed the player at default. You're going to win that round every single time if you're NRG, right? And NRG did the exact same thing as they're doing now. But the difference on land was those kills didn't happen. Like, Breeze wasn't able to just run up the site and entry frag people like that because they just have a way better advantage on land. You know, like the kill's just going to go the player on land's way so much more often than not. Now they have a 3B setup, Dap spotting A-halls, but that was like the big difference. They played the same way, but those kills are just aren't there on land, you know? Like, Hunden just dominated them.
So what you're saying here is Hunden is just a land god waiting to be.
Or maybe NRG just not a land squad.
Well, here in this round, Breeze.
Well, NRG really does lack, in my opinion, without Marky especially. I don't think they have much firepower, to be honest.
No, I mean, that's a fair point. You look at them across the board here. Beyond Breeze, you don't really see a lot of consistency coming in that respect, but the fight is on for control of the A-bomb set, and for the most part, it's going into the favor of SK. Still leaves it into an even 3v3, as we do end up seeing Breeze kind of back up the library there, gives up his own position as he waits for the B rotators to move back into the site. They are trying to move in pretty quickly for the retake, but it's all SK right now. Fugly responding, that's going to be it afterwards, though. Furt takes it down, and SK close out the pistol and have their path back to their lead.
Yeah, but then again, if you're NRG, right, even if you're losing rounds, but you're like, I mean, say you're in a 5v5, there's 40 seconds left, the CTs don't have a bunch of smokes and mollies, and then you're hitting a site, right? And they don't have the site stacked. Even if you lose that round, I guess you're probably like fine with it. Like strategy-wise, you're like, well, I mean, it was like a 5v2 over there at B when we hit it, you know? I mean, we just got to do a better job of taking the site, right? So, anyways, Anti-Eco comes out. PTR gets the best of Fur right away. He doesn't even have any armor or anything like that. So, 2 players are in B for SK. And this is going to end up being a retake for NRG. They're going to be able to get bombed down, though.
As we have the bomb coming up from Banana right now. The re-smoke going to be working its way in. So still going to try to deny access for as long as possible against NRG, but they're running out of this utility very quickly. In fact, now they're just down to flashbangs. Tried to boost up onto the flower pot, spotted by Phelps though, and in fact he picked off Breeze, I think, all on the way down. It was the player that boosted him up originally. Now the other 3 kind of are in the site, I should say, that are kind of
Very
wrapped around it.
conservative call by NRG. They're just going to save and try to contain them. I was laughing so hard to be on the summit when Fallen was talking about the anti-eco. So they played against, actually, I can't remember. It was online, I believe. But do you remember when they stacked 5 connector or 5 in construction?
Well, I think
it might have been online. It was on Inferno versus C9.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember it.
Okay, well they stacked 5 in construction, right?
Yeah.
Just with the USBs. And Fur and Phelps ran in there and died. And Fallen was like pissed. He's like, what are you guys doing, man? We could have lost the round. It ended up Cold winning a 2v1, right? And then he said that Fur and Phelps were just like, what do you mean? It was just a great anti-eco by them. When I heard that, I was really laughing, dude, because they just had 5 in construction, and he ran in there with like a MAC-10 and died. And then Phelps died after, you know, because they were both trying to just, you know, like that's how they play. They're very aggressive on those rounds. And he's just, yeah, man, it was just a great anti-eco by them. I was like, that is the funniest thing.
Well, NRG are going to have to go up against the anti-eco from SK heading into this 3rd round now. We do indeed see, well, 1 sneak kill coming out there from Little Man. Phelps kind of losing himself in the process too, looking every which way. Fallen's got it under control though. He gets the nice double kill, and that should pretty much settle the score. Daps and Fugly are separated here. Daps trying to do what he can, but it's not going to be much. And there you go. That's the full setup now to allow SK not only to take the lead, but they'll have a 2-round advantage as we get into the gun round.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, Blue, but I could, like, if I was Fallen and, like, or if I was on a team, right, and they, like, both my players, like, we almost lost that round, I would be pretty pissed.
Yeah.
But then if they said that, if they're like, man, they just had a great setup, there's no way I could be mad after that. I would just be laughing. I'm like, all right, that was pretty clever. How could I be mad when, you know?
Is this like when you hopped around Chicken Coop the other night, that rank S game?
Oh, you saw that?
Yeah.
damn, if that was planted on the other side.
Yeah.
The problem is their team had such bad communication, right? They had like 2 Brazilian players. They had both the French players, and then they had Ruru, I think, who like doesn't even speak.
Yeah.
So they just had the worst communication. So even though one player cleared chicken coop, he probably didn't even call it. Or he probably said it in like a different, like, you know, like instead of calling it coop, he called it like shack. You know,
just
so
said
like
it really quickly or something like that.
Yeah. So then another guy's just watching it for some reason.
Yeah, that was
really funny though, right? Playing Ring Around the Rosie.
Yeah. All right, well, back into the gun round now as we refocus into this game. We've got SK built up, but obviously still working with those umps again, which did come back to bite them a little bit. But, well, Peter again versus Fallen.
Was that 3 or 4 times?
That's got to be, I think it's the 4th.
Yeah.
And he destroys Fallen in a 1v1 at the moment. Peter just dominating as we come to expect in this arena anyway. And now...
Fallen's no match for Pete on the net.
on the internet connection is way better here. So the funny thing is,
Peter
too,
is gonna kill Fur too.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure SK have like crazy ping for
Really?
these matches. Well, like
What is it?
good ping.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like hold tab. Let me see it. Oh, never mind. This is pretty bad in this match.
Just insanely good.
No, I remember because sometimes they play West Coast servers and they legit have like 5 or 6 ping to West Coast servers.
Well, NRG, I'm not sure where all the players are at, like location-wise, actually.
I know at one point.
Are you?
Well, SK is obviously like around us.
Yeah,
here in LA.
yeah, they're around LA for sure.
NRG, I feel like they had an LA team house at one point, but I don't think they do
No, they
anymore.
did, but
So
that
I
was
thi-
with the German players.
Yeah, I think they're all like in their own separate houses and stuff at this point. As far as I know, I could be wrong about that. Peter is going to continue his rampage, though, as now he's up to 3. Fortunately, SK just keep walking into their own deaths, it seems like, and now it's down to Cold. Literally 0 damage done to anyone on Energy so far in this round with 20 seconds left. Interestingly enough, they didn't kill the bomb, so the bomb has gone undetected all this time. And good attempt from Cold to make something happen there at the end, but they were both double peaked, so easy trade for Daps to get and close out the round.
Yeah, very clean round. Large part due to PTR. Kills Fallen at the start. Reaggresses Boiler. This is a very powerful thing to do on Inferno. Is you reaggress on port side mid with an op, especially like post mid control. It's really easy to kill anybody posted up around Boiler or top mid or anything like that.
So now this is going to give Energy the slight advantage. Obviously, SK winning out those first few rounds really cleanly again, and they are going to be able to get back into the buy. 4Ks in the op going on to Fallen. And we have them split up in the early round here once more. Very, very similar to the early splits you were seeing from NRG, actually. We've got quite a few players trying to push up towards Hall, about 2 or 3 of them. One guy watching out in case they try to get aggressive at mid, and then the other 2 kind of just casually waiting either at the very entrance towards Banana or further back down, as you see now, behind the crossroads, as they put a little bit more focus on mid this time instead of going directly for the bottom Banana control. As obviously, as we can see now, Peter continues to wait from this position and tries to pick players off early on from the half wall, and he's been pretty sufficient at that. Even going back over to the T side too, he's been really good at kind of dominating Banana in the early portions of the round. So,
yeah, NRG just taking risks all the time on their Inferno. Like they do it quite often, where they have 4A, 1B, and if you remember last time, they took risks even in like 4v5s. That I was kind of questioning a little bit. But anyways, SK retaking B control. Taco still at Halls. We have Fur hanging around alt mid and middle. So they have a lot of options right now with 30 seconds left, but they're going to have to pick quick whether they want to go to EP or A. They throw a smoke B, and it looks like they're going to take bomb up A.
Well, there's still a 3 stack from Energy, so this could actually be a little bit rough for them too, just waiting on the site. Taco flashing out first here, but waiting for his teammates to wrap back around library side before he decides to commit himself to it. So this is going to be a very disjointed hit as well. But the good news is it could work itself to actually be a pinch onto these players on the site. And there we go, 1, 2 down, no trades at all. They didn't spot the 3rd guy yet, and it's going to be Breeze trying to make an effort to come back here. Unfortunately, not too successful in his regard, and anybody else from Energy that tries to roll into the site only picks up 1 kill at max. Peter, left alone now, is going to be falling back to save, is to let SK pick up the 11th.
Yeah, it's 0 margin for error there if you're SK. And NRG with that triple site setup is a pretty big counter, or is countered pretty heavily by that 3 wrap. So it's just a 1-1-3, 1 porch. Porch had bomb, actually, so that could have went very poorly if there was any re-aggression towards Porch. And especially with 15 seconds left by the time they were wrapping, zero margin for error in that round. If anything goes wrong, if the planner dies, going up porch by himself with the bomb, like that round's over, right? So SK playing with fire with the clock, but at the end of the day, when you have 3 A site and you have 3 people rapping on them, it's very, very T-sided. Especially when the A halls player isn't like the first to go out and die.
Yeah.
Because then you have to watch A halls and you also have to watch directly behind you. It's really difficult. And A halls, you can't really hide behind any of those boxes except for like that middle box to watch rap, right? Because you could just like be seen, obviously, in a lot of those situations, even if you're crouched.
So SK coming out with a good adjustment there at the end and a good crunch onto the site. It gives them the round just when time seemed like it was going to be working against them. Works into their favor now. But the guys from NRG go right back into their early kill advantage spree as they've got Breezy picking off Fur right at the start again. Another 5v4 advantage to NRG. That trend continues just like it was in the first half here. Peter also pushed up a little bit in the halls early on.
Flashman. So for Taco to peek A halls, like right where he is, if you look at the minimap, or if we can go to Taco very quickly, they had a teammate, I believe it was a person with the bomb, Cold. He flashed from around bench area, and it landed right in that doorway. So if anybody was peeking there with an op or anything like that, he would have just wrecked them.
Yeah, and there'd be like no time to react to anything like that too, as that would just land right in
it's
the
like
corner.
a perfect pop flash, yeah.
But beyond that, no one from NRG is going to be losing their position based off of that. So we do have NRG still splitting up evenly with the 5v4 advantage. No progress has been made by SK really to take map control here either. Obviously, NRG gave up like aggressive B control, but that was by their own doing. And there's also no one pushed up around either porch or rap side here. Again, though, a choice that they themselves have made. So overall, NRG not really too worried about this situation yet. But once again, we're going to see a late push coming back in. And Peter almost called out early on. In fact, he probably still will end up getting called out. The good news is, though, is that by getting aggressive there, he does spot the play. Phelps also catches his teammate, though, so Peter's going to be able to do nothing about this situation after he gets flashed out afterwards. 2 kills. They've got the site. It's a 3v3, an even scenario, but still, SK are so well bunkered down at this point that this is going to be rough for the retake with everybody coming back in from the arch side. Fallen can just camp in this position and really pick them off one by one, as they also don't have any utility to get back in. So NRG is going to decide this is not really worth it, and they'll give up the save.
This is a good save. I don't think they would win this round, but they just, again, they send 3 towards B in a 4v5 where they have 5 and SK has 4, and they take a risk like that. So every single round, NRG is taking risks every single round. Whether that's how they always play Inferno, I think it is, just judging by what I've seen, the couple matches we've seen. But maybe they're doing it even more because they don't really believe that, like, they could hold any type of default setup, even if it's a 4v5 in their favor against SK, right? Maybe it's one of those things where they're thinking, we're playing against SK, we lose to them repeatedly. I don't trust ourselves to not win without taking those type of risks. That could very well be what we're seeing. This, I don't understand by NRG. They just, they save those 3 guns, but they don't even buy behind it. I don't know why you don't drop like an ump each. It's a PTR and low man here.
Yeah, PTR just gets dropped the CZ. I think that was saved
the money
last
right
round. Not too good.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I don't know. I would definitely drop like an ump each and just try to buy aggressively here. Because that's a way better way to try to upset somebody, is doing that than it is doing like what they did last round, where they just take like a huge risk in a 4v5 scenario.
They don't buy up any additional, they don't really have the capacity to, granted, but even so, they also don't really try to buy up any utility behind the players that did actually save, so they're still only working with, well, nothing now.
Well, I think that's fine, right? But if you get like the 2 umps and you buy, and you still can buy the next round, the problem is they just don't have people that are like comfortable umping, honestly. It's huge to have people who are able to make an impact with umps. Everybody at a top level needs to be able to do that.
Fugly gets himself into an actually really nice position here. Timing works out beautifully for him as he's pushing up. He catches someone trying to set up a smoke. So early 5v4 advantage again. But keep in mind, this means very little. It's been the same situation for the last like 2 or 3 rounds now, and SK has still been able to battle back for the most part and claim the round, despite getting aggressive onto A. This time, though, it seems like things may be heading in the other direction. They've got 2 players lined up to swing right head on into B, and they've also got a few more players on the rap side here, which means we could see an A pinch leading over into the B bomb site. As we see them creeping up towards Arches now. Breeze in the first battle, but loses out now. Fur's going to be able to continue through. Phelps gets himself a double lineup against Little Man and Peterson. Swinging into it, just finds another target waiting for him in CT. No trades at all. Fugly's the last man standing. This is more than likely going to be a round for SK. As they do get the bomb down, the timer issue's gone away, and for Fugly, as he retrieves the op, he's going to be falling way back, probably towards T-spawn to save.
Yeah, I mean, again, they get the bomb down with about 3 seconds left. That kill at Arch pulled both B players off. And they push. I mean, in that situation, if those B players just stand pat, there's only, I believe it was 2 players going to B with bomb, right?
The other 2 were wrapping.
Yeah, so the way you want to think about it, if you're NRG in that situation, is are we going to win the round if we rotate 2 seconds earlier? You know, is that really going to make that much of a difference that we play undisciplined in that aspect? That's how you have to think about it. If you watch, we watch Cloud9 a lot, right? And they almost never over-rotate unless they see bomb. So in that situation, if you just stay disciplined, you stand pat, you almost certainly win that round.
Well, we do end up at a pause now for NRG as they are needing to take a moment here. SK continue to kind of run them over with just seconds left on the clock. And it is getting in the way of their ability to steal this map, as they were doing pretty good in the first half, but it has not carried over too well into their CT side just as of yet. SK has shown themselves to be superior here so far, and after saving those guns, unfortunately, they're not going to get a whole lot done going into their next round here either, as we can see for the most part. Well, you guys will see it in a second, but it's just going to be CZs and other like $500 pistols again with armor buy-ups and a little bit of utility, and that's going to be the most that they'll bring to the table. So their track record for these, I mean, you look back to their T side, it was actually relatively good in the way that they were able to kind of run over SK, but they no longer have the ability to necessarily do that. So, and I'm sure SK's also kind of started to watch out for that a little bit more too, based on what happened in the last half. So it won't be as easy to upset here anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I just really strategically am against the way NRG plays. Giant risks on CT side. I don't know how you're ever going to consistently beat people and also improve doing that. Almost every single round, giant risks, even when it's, wow, those nades.
Just completely destroys Cold Zera and Fallen's help pool right at the start. Yeah. Thankfully, it wasn't a little bit closer, so that could have been the end of both those players. But yeah, Cold Zera and Fallen probably going to have to be hanging back a little bit more for the start of this one. They do try to respond with one of their own nades, but way off the mark. Little Man, pretty far away from that one, is able to only take like 2 or 3 damage from it. So he'll still be sitting fine. And SK themselves trying to test the waters early on here. As we can see, Taco's been playing around with the long haul for quite some time now, trying to catch a Little Man or anyone else that would try to test him inside of the hull itself, but they're not going for it. Fur is going to get pushed past the mid-choke point by a CT smoke. And now he's kind of hoping that off the smoke they may try to push back up themselves here, and they may just get that with Daps hiding out. Daps, though, again, getting the better of a player with just a CZ in hand. He's able to take down Fur. Not going to be sticking around for too much longer after that, but some of the other members of NRG are going to get their confidence back. This doesn't work out as well. However, Cold Zera picking up a kill was brought down extremely low from the play, but now Taco is able to strike out from the balcony there. And it's not just him either. It's Phelps picking up an additional kill on Daps. 4v2 is the way this situation is going to go. Both trying to rat back in from Banana. And in a moment, Fallen should be able to hear them or spot them if he goes for the peek at mid. Try to isolate them, although he's not actually paying attention to it at all right now, and he's going to end up just peeking into his own death. That's an op into the hands of Fugly.
Saved up.
And the op will run back, as you mentioned, to save in T-spawn, and Fugly will just hold at the choke point again, make sure no one else from SK tries to test them. And if he can escape with like an AK or something, that would be great, but overall, the round is going to go into SK's favor.
I mean, there's a reason why they're like the only team that plays like that, you know? Like NRG is. It's because it's not the best way to play. It's like being that. I want to hear what Vendetta will have to say about like the way they buy. I think Vendetta, you've probably seen enough of NRG to kind of get a feel of like how they buy, right? And like I want to hear your opinion on it when we go back to the analyst desk, because to me it's just like you're so working against yourself. You know, when you watch SK, when you watch these really good teams like Astralis and whatnot play, you save one off on CT especially, and you surround it with umps, and all of a sudden you have an extremely deadly round. You know?
Yeah.
When you have players who know how to ump, who know how to mag 7. Honestly, the ump costs 1,200. It's not that much worse than the M4. You're really working against yourself in the ecosystem that, you know, the developers have like made for this game. Oh my goodness. That is a lot of damage to him.
It's just under 75 damage being done to Peter from the mollies. He sits in it hoping there was a peek from SK, but definitely did not get that. In fact, SK avoided Banana this round like the plague after throwing out that molly, so Peter is going to end up eating a lot of damage for very little reason behind it. And that could come to hurt later on in the round if he has to go for any more aggressive peeks into the open. And he's basically one-shotable now by anyone. Beyond this, though, SK are posturing up for what may turn itself into a very, very straightforward hit onto the site. Already trying to line up smokes, and one out for is going to end up backing out to regroup with the mid push. But they've got 2 ready to go out the balcony. They are probably going to wait for the other players in mid to get through first, just so they don't end up going down without any responses at all. But they're set up for it. They're ready to move back in. NRG have reacted to this one, however. As we can see, they've got 4 players sitting in the site ready to counteract this, and have only left Fugly back over on B. So in the event that SK pull a quick turnaround here and head to the other side, needed to pull off some big moves, but thankfully that's not going to happen this time. They do try to go for quick pit control. Breeze is able to hold that. No response. And in fact, he even swings out for a 3rd kill now. Peter chiming in for one of the last ones. Just Fallen has survived, and he's not going to last much longer. Breeze gets a 4K, and NRG have finally picked up a gun around here to bring them back in the game.
Hold by Breeze, 4K by him. And again, they had 4 towards A, only 1 towards B, so another, risk by NRG. Maybe they look at the map as like just the most T-sided map ever, and like the only way you can win CT side rounds is by taking like just always having like an extra guy at the site. And if they go to the opposite way of the site, you probably lose the round. But whatever. Oh, let's see if Cole throws that flash.
Peter's trying to change it out right now.
Let's see. I think he's gonna throw it. Oh no, Pete left.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome to see, though.
You can see the path of the flash a little bit better as we were talking about those 2 or 3 rounds back, so it goes back in.
I thought it was going to be a little bit poppier, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I think you get it.
He just kind of knocks it off the wall.
He might have missed it a little bit there that time. But
No, that's definitely how he throws it.
Yeah.
He just throws it off the wall, and then it pops inside. I just thought it would be like a little, just a lob, and then just bam.
And then it just explodes in the door without any hearing the ticks.
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so you get a little bit of warning on that flash. Beyond that, though, it's just SK taking Hall's control, which is not too much of an eventful thing there. It's been very easy to take that control, so SK, just the first step in their master plan here is they do have like a weird split of players, though. In fact, these guys are getting really aggressive on B while still holding Hall's control. Phelps is already sneaking in. He's even got support from Fallen if he needs to. Phelps is going to try to be really sneaky about the way he does this, though. If he can just take down Fugly, I think the smoke's just going to get in the way, but not in the other direction. Fugly's still able to spot some part of Phelps and punish him for getting that aggressive. So another 5v4 advantage going by the way of SK, and it's looking like, going by the way of NRG, and it's looking like that trend is going to continue. Fugly and Breezy, and now Peter picking up these early kills. It's down to Taco now in the pit. He's not going to be able to get a whole lot done on his own. Should note there's 18 seconds left, so if Taco wanted to, he could have just tried to hold that off and prevent the plant, but it doesn't work out. Just tries to go aggressively into the open, and that's where NRG are going to shut it down to pick up an 11th.
Yeah, and SK, not great money. NRG has just a default hold that round. And they do a great job, and they win the round extremely clean. So Fugly did an awesome job at B. Smoke dissipates right when Fallen wasn't ready for it. And now we just see Tech-9s, limited utility, and a few armors on SK. I like that, where they had that player just kind of jump through boiler, jump across, and just a spot for info. And he saw maybe 3 people all mid. So what do? They get PTR pushed up B, and now they rotate Fugly off. But this is actually a good, risk, right? Even though they're going up against Tech-9s, PTR has full banana control. There's no nades. He also has a smoke and a flash, and they saw a bunch of people all.
Breeze is going to get flashed out, so they are getting prepped for this. Breeze gets it a second time, though, so he's not able to help out too much in the situation. Even when the flash finally goes away, SK are just cleaning up shop. Phelps, Fur, and Cold all pick up those 4 kills. And it doesn't even seem like they gave NRG a chance at that one. Peter, back down banana, just gives away his position. And now that's going to be the end of it. SK are going to push forward into 15 rounds, and they'll even move in to hunt down Pete in a second here.
Yeah, I mean, they have a smoke, 2 flashes. Everybody else, 3 armors and 2 Tech-9s with no armor. And you're going against 4 players who are all ready for the hit, who pretty much know what's happening. And you lose that round. So I'm not sure exactly what happened with the hold there, if there was team flashes going off or what. But I mean, the take was even disjointed. They had a smoke out at Halls. Like, that should have been a very, very easy, clean hold and easy round for NRG. And instead, we see SK Gaming, stealing a round away from NRG that they had no business winning. But at the same time, I mean, NRG won, a very similar round to that on their T side as well, right? So it kind of evens out.
Yeah, we can see it again. Just textbook execution as they do eventually get back in there. The flashbangs earlier on that you saw in a Breeze who just completely killed him. He was set up again to multi-frag there if he didn't get hit with anything, but the flashbang just killed it, and he didn't even get a chance to respond to it. I imagine some other players had to suffer for a similar fate. So now let's put us up to map point here with SK leading the charge in it. They do also try to push up Banana a little bit more heavily this time. This is a bit of an uncommon trend for them for the most part. They have been fine to just hold back on Banana. They're hold at the crossroads or in here around the logs and then push in later. This time they are going to just essentially just go for it for the most part, and they're going to need to speed that up a bit as there's other players from NRG already pushed past the CT halls and out into the T halls now and are going to be able to inspect this, flank around them. SK are going to very quickly lose the control of the map that they just worked so hard to gain, but they're not only going to get the first kill, but the second kill as well. That's the entire B defense cleaned up. The one rotator working his way over from the other site is going to be able to impact a little bit, but we also have players trying to work their way in from the other direction, and Fallen handles both of them, and the second one with style. Gets the headshot on a Breeze. Now it's just Daps holding on his own, and finally he might have met his match here against Fallen in a moment. Indeed, Fallen will push through, getting a third and final headshot to close out on the map, and it's going to be SK that take control of Inferno and push themselves one more map away from a guaranteed playoff spot.
Yeah, and NRG, like I said, just, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the way they play Inferno and the way they buy CT side. Just every single round. I mean, they're just taking a huge risk. Every single round on CT side. Just a giant risk. And it's like, I don't know how you, maybe you just think it's impossible to hold on CT Inferno. Maybe it's just because they're playing against SK and they feel like if we try to play them straight up, there's no way we're going to win. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I mean, the way they buy economically as well translates to every map. And I just think it is one of the worst ways to play. I really do.
All right, well, let's bring the analysts into the conversation. I'll get their thoughts on what Daze was actually just talking about there. The plays that we're seeing there on the CT side for NRG, warranted or a little bit, over aggressive for what we saw?
Honestly, in my opinion, I think it's way too over aggressive, especially if you know who you're going up against as well, because SK has had tendencies when they've played Inferno in previous matchups to not really necessarily utilize the map too well when they're given the map space, really. We've seen multiple times that they've struggled, even though they're given Banana control, it'll end up with Phelps getting caught out by his lonesome when, SK feel like they have Banana control and that kind of stuff, and that's something they get punished for heavily. We saw that versus Gambit this weekend. I think something like that would have been for NRG to take advantage of. But to be fair, SK did make small adaptations to it as well. We could see a bit more labored tempo going towards Banana initially at the start of the rounds compared to what we saw earlier too.
Well, even if we do look at the energy side of things, right, we have Fugly pushing the extremities at time to time, and we see him catch Fallen out at least once, or catch someone with their pants down, and it's plays like that can really propel you forward in a round.
It definitely can. And there is merit to doing it every now and again, but obviously doing it every single round, that becomes that way it becomes a pattern that becomes very easy to read for the T's, and eventually you just set up in a situation where SK, for a lot of the rounds really on this side, actually ended up running the time down to like 15, 20 seconds before they actually committed to a bomb site. If they're expecting a push and they actually get one pick off of that, then that's, they're perfectly fine to play with that.
Well, let's take a look now at round 20. I do believe we have it loaded up for you guys. Vendetta, walk us through this.
Yeah, so basically this is where we're going to see a late Banana take from SK, or they're going to re-aggress or get map control towards Banana initially late into the round. Which, again, is just going to keep the two NRG players on B. On that bomb site, they're not going to be allowed to cheat over. Peter's not going to be able to hold that bomb site alone, and that's where you see them re-aggress towards A again, while Taco's throwing out nades and everything to disallow any, rotation. So anywhere, he's just going to keep people in place with the nades he's throwing. That's going to allow for the rest of the SK squad to wrap around Arch. And with this passive setup from NRG for once, where they actually play 3 on bomb site, having so many people coming around Wrap is just going to leave them in a terrible position where they actually have no legitimate chance of actually getting multi-kills if you're on the CT side.
Almost fish in the barrel at that point.
Yeah, very much so, and that's kind of the big downside of playing passively and not having any control like that passively. Obviously, we talked about NRG taking too many chances. This is also a chance, even though it's a defensive one, because you're basically banking on everything. Like you're gonna hit your shots the second you see them, because if you don't, you're completely screwed. You're gonna get overrun, and especially because you haven't given yourself enough time to actually have the information that SK are pushing up, for instance. So you're kind of just stuck on a site, don't really have any shot at getting any help from B because the rotations are going to be late because what SK did with re-aggressing towards banana right before they swung back to A.
Well, we see Inferno go in the way of SK. They're one map win away at this time from securing their place in the finals in Dallas. Should we expect just an overconfident, should we expect a powerhouse SK to show up here on train? Good Lord.
Honestly, I think it's you would like to say yes, but obviously SK hasn't really played well at all on train as of late. Especially their CT size has been rather messy. So I don't think we can expect a powerhouse performance, but I do think we're going to see an SK strong enough to win.
Well, we're going to go to an extended break because Volvo has pushed out a release and there has been an update to the game. So with that being said, we'll be coming back at a rather longer amount of time than usual. So make sure you don't go anywhere and watch this whole screen.
Start your esports career now at play.eslgaming.com.
Get your team apparel now at shop.eslgaming.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ESL One Code! 2 big shots in a row. Inferno's about to bring it back now. All on Nico. Trying to see if they can get the defuse and Nico. Oh no, Inferno's!
Has to keep Brutus Pro alive. Taco once closer. AW.
It's important to be part of the Pro League because it's sort of the premier league for all the North American pro teams, and also it gives you the opportunity to make the LAN finals and play against some of EU's best as well.
You know, with the sponsor Mountain Dew, can be really good for up-and-coming players. It feels amazing to have this opportunity, and I'd never take it for granted, that's for sure.
Get your team apparel now at shop.eslgaming.com.
Counter-Strike is sharing incredible moments with us and will return to a memorable place. Get your tickets now at proleague.com/Dallas.
As we did just see, SK Gaming taking map number 1 Inferno over NRG 16-11. SK one map from securing their spot in the playoffs in Dallas. However, that, ladies and gentlemen, will not be happening tonight. It does look like there has been a technical issue within the update itself that was released by Valve. So unfortunately, we will not be bringing you the second map of that doubleheader, which would have been Train. Would have been an interesting one, albeit.
Oh, definitely would have been. I was looking forward to both matchups really that we had, our 3 remaining games. Sadly, that's not going to come to fruition today. Hopefully, everything should be fixed by tomorrow because we've got some great matches coming up for that as well.
Hopefully, everything should be fixed. It is starting to feel more and more like a snow day around the studio here, but let's take a look at tomorrow's matchups. We've got Misfits and Renegades and Cloud9 versus Luminosity over on the mainstream. Then as we take a look over on the secondary stream, Immortals, Liquid, the really one that stands out there. I'm not sure we can really note the Winter Fox Optic.
Yeah, no, I think that's the one game that we can kind of just bank on being a fairly safe bet to go with Optic at least. Immortals versus Liquid is obviously going to be a big game, especially for Liquid, considering their tough schedule ahead for the last 2 weeks. And also, Misfits, for them, this is going to be pretty much the last chance to make sure they stay alive in that playoff race in their matchup versus Renegades tomorrow.
Well, it's definitely sort of a fight for survival for some of these teams that don't want to see themselves at the very end of the pack, but aren't necessarily playing for playoff contention.
Yeah, no, it's obviously like this is where you kind of make your stand, your final stand for the season. This is either where, you make it a noteworthy one and make sure you come back next season, or where you just completely fall off the face of the earth. For most of the teams going into action tomorrow, outside of Winterfox, I think they could be or can be fairly content with their season. But yeah, Winterfox on their end, they obviously want to fight against that auto relegation spot, which is they're not at it right now, but it's definitely like a possibility.
It's definitely a possibility. Well, in case you've missed any of the action tonight, albeit we didn't really bring you a whole lot, but in case you missed any of the action, throughout the entire season, check out youtube.com/go not days. You need to go to youtube.com/ESLCS, where you can find all the latest VODs. You can check out some of the freshest clothes and even hang out with a lot of the chillest dudes.
Yeah. It's got it all, actually.
It really does. It's an all-encompassing package. Either way, that does it for us here at the ESL Studios. We will be back tomorrow with the same great people, and by that I mean me and a little bit of him too. So make sure you're here with us tomorrow as we enter day 2 of week number 9.